You may have heard the term Miata is always the answer, but with the ever-rising popularity of crossovers, it seems like CX-5 might be the actual answer. Just ask Reddit, the world's authority on random strangers' opinions. But why are these things so popular?
So one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing, that sets Mazda apart is that they are actually kind of interesting and fun to drive. This is not just another soulless SUV on the road, but it is actually enjoyable to drive. For one thing, with everything being drive-by-wire nowadays, we don't have a lot of feedback usually in the gas pedal, and it's just all air behind it. But at least this one does have some resistance to it, and it feels like you're actually pushing on something, even if that resistance is artificial. And if you want to pop it into sport mode, you get even more resistance. Same goes with the steering wheel. There's actually some feedback coming in through the steering wheel. There's actually some resistance, and again, if you pop it into sport mode, you get even more resistance. And that seriously helps with the engagement. It's not just light video game steering. I do wish the steering wheel was a little bit beefier, but this thin one does keep things a little bit more on the classy looking side, and it's perfectly comfortable enough. Plus, with the turbocharger, it is actually legitimately punchy. You can put your foot into it and it will move. That is something that it has over the CR-V and the RAV4, and they just are not quite this peppy. Now, even in the lower trim levels with the naturally aspirated motor, it still is plenty peppy enough for your daily driving, and it still is actually better than your standard commuter in terms of power. But if you really have a lead foot, or you just like to put your foot into it every once in a while, then the turbo is definitely the way to go. Now, you do lose out on some of the fuel economy if you option the turbo, of course, because we are looking at 22 miles per gallon city, 27 highway versus 24 city and 30 highway. Part of that is because we don't have the cylinder deactivation. Part of that is obviously we're producing more power. And with this one, lifetime so far in the first 1,800 miles of this car's life, we're looking at about 22 miles per gallon on average. So, it is kind of hard not to put your foot into it. Not exactly the most efficient, but you are trading efficiency for fun. And we're made it to a 6-speed automatic transmission. This is pretty standard procedure here for Mazda, the 6-speed automatic that they use in everything. And we've got paddle shifters here too. Mazdas are not generally cars that I would recommend using the paddle shifters for. It's fine, but the way the torque curve kind of dies off after the peak does mean that it's not really the best to wring out. So I just let the transmission do its own thing. And this one is all-wheel drive because all of the Mazda CX-5s are now all-wheel drive. There is no longer a front-wheel drive version like there used to be. But the all-wheel drive is not your standard all-wheel drive system. It is constantly monitoring the driver inputs and what the wheels are doing, and it can send wheels to the front or back sort of as needed before slip happens, versus a standard all-wheel drive system, which will generally send the power to the back wheels only as slip is detected. The other thing this has is G-vectoring control, which is fancy speak for it sort of subtly will alter the engine's output as you come around corners so that it can shift the weight of the car. It's not something that you're going to really actively notice, but it can shift the weight of the car to the back wheels or to the front wheels just subtly, and it will help you sort of come out of the corner a lot more smoothly than if it didn't have that system. Mazda also has a suite of standard safety features, and this one actually adds on top of that those standard features as well. But we have the traffic sign recognition in this one, as well as the lane keep assist, adaptive cruise with full stop and go, and actually our traffic sign recognition up here is in the heads-up display, as well as current speed, as well as which lane you're going over, if you're going over one of the lanes, and your current cruise control settings. And you can adjust this if you don't like the positioning of it. Maybe you sit a little, maybe you're on the shorter side or on the taller side. You can actually adjust the positioning of the heads-up display, which is cool. And we've got blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert. Always nice to have, and a smart braking system as well to help prevent collisions. If you want the parking sensors, you have to go up to the signature trim though. That one I do like to have, especially parking in the garage. It's really nice to have those front sensors there when you just have all the junk in the front of your garage. But not exactly a deal breaker. The 360 camera is also part of that signature trim only, but we do have a standard backup camera here, and it is nice and clear, unlike a couple of the cars that I've been in recently where the backup camera is really fuzzy for some reason, despite having an HD display.
For the 2023 model year, we see a new premium color option in rhodium white. That's right, you can now pay extra for white. If you're going to go premium, I'd say you go with the Soul Red Crystal Metallic, as that's one of the best paint colors in the automotive world. But Mazda also offers some pretty nice free colors like this deep crystal blue mica. Blacked out 19-inch wheels, black wheel arches, black mirror caps, a gloss black grille with some red flare, black lower bumper, black rockers, a black wings. Those set this turbo trim apart from the others, as does the turbocharger. Of course. Non-turbo trims get you a 2.5 liter direct injected 4-cylinder Skyactiv G motor with cylinder deactivation. That motor produces 186 horsepower and 187 pound-feet of torque. The turbo and signature trims remove the cylinder deactivation and give you the turbocharger, which helps squeeze out 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. If that's not quite enough for you, then premium gas will bump you up to 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. LED headlights and taillights are standard across the board. This trim level also gets you adaptive headlights for better visibility at night, and it comes with a power moonroof for better sky visibility and power liftgate for easier cargo access. That's push to open, not kick to open, but still a welcome feature. There's one button on the hatch lid, and there's another button on this dinky plastic key fob. Mazda has their car game down, but they've got to get with it on the key game. The rear cargo area offers up 30.8 cubic feet of space with the seats up and just under 60 cubic feet with the seats down. Note the solid seat back with latches here. Like this much better than the cloth with the cutouts in the CX-50. Heading inside the CX-5 is a keyless activity with a single button. I do usually prefer inside the handle to unlock and outside to lock, but the heated auto folding power mirrors eliminate the ambiguity, so it's pretty clear when the car is locked or unlocked. Inside, we're looking at black leather only in the turbo trim. Nappa leather is available if you go up a trim, and parchment, aka white leather, is available in most of the other trims. Black and white leatherette and black cloth in the bottom two trims. Back seats are heated in this trim, but too bad my kids are still in car seats, so they don't get to enjoy that feature. Cup holders and a vent back here as well, and we're looking at just under 40 inches of legroom. Of course, I fit back here just fine at 5'7", though for some reason this does feel a little bit tighter than the CX-50, even though they're about the same in terms of legroom measurements. Forward-facing seats are no problem. Rear-facing seats are kind of tight. It does seem like at 40 inches they should be okay. Front seats are 8-way power with lumbar support, memory settings, heat, and ventilation. They're a bit on the stiff side, but overall fine. Leather trim abound, as well as some red stitching for flare, courtesy of the turbo trim level. This is one of the areas where Mazda hits hard. Premium interiors at affordable prices. It's classy and well thought out in here. The leather wrapped wheel is thin and elegant looking with heat running through it at 9 and 3, as well as cruise control, infotainment, and instrument cluster controls that are simple and easy to use. The instrument cluster doesn't offer too much information, but I do like the simplicity of the analog gauges. The center dial is all digital and changes colors with your driving modes. A very clean full color positionally adjustable heads-up display at the bottom of the windshield shows speed, cruise control, lane departure information, as well as your traffic sign recognition if you have that. That traffic sign recognition comes as part of the nav package on this one for an extra $450. Infotainment is Mazda's standard scroll knob and buttons at the center area. Every time I use one I get a little bit more used to it, but there's still a few operations that feel like they're just a little bit too cumbersome for a knob. Otherwise, the system is quick and clear. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are standard here, but if you want to go wireless, you'll have to look to the aftermarket. Oddly, we have a charging pad for the phone up here, but no USB ports, so if you're using a wired connection, you'll have to go in through the center console and find a spot for your phone. Music is coming through a 12-speaker Bose sound system in this one. And probably my favorite thing about this entire interior is the fact that you can fit a full-size Nalgene in the door card. It's pretty clear to see why these cars do so well. They're actually fun to drive and provide good feedback to the driver. The interiors are nicer than your standard economy car, and you have the option for a punchy turbocharger, and they don't look half bad either.